of the rest of the population. Okay. And how do you create a step-by-step concrete financial plan for yourself? And to help us do this, we need to use a financial calculator, which I'm going to show you how to use, and you should have downloaded it by now. Have you guys got your financial calculator, the online calculator? If not, you can click and download it at the top of this chat box. Yeah. And we've also passed you a financial freedom worksheet that you need to fill in as you use the calculator. So there's going to be a bit of work involved. So please participate. And if you've got questions, you ask questions in the chat box. My team behind will help to answer all your questions. Yeah. At the same time, of course, this is one of your last opportunities to grab our courses, our playbooks, with for a very, very big discount, up to 60% discount during this Retail Rebellion offer. So go grab it as soon as you can because it's going to be over very, very soon. Yeah. So if you guys are ready, let's get going. Now, a lot of people, they say, Adam, I want to be financially free from the rat race. I want to be financially secure. I think that's something that we all want. But let me ask you this question. How do you know you are financially free? What is your definition? Type your answer. Different people have different definitions. How do you know you're financially free? What must happen for you to be financially free from the rat race? Or to be financially independent? Someone say control over time, no debts. What else? Time freedom, income more than expenses, no need to work, retire early. You are secured for the future, FIRE, so and so forth. Okay. And yeah, many of you are getting it right. Great. Have sufficient money to fund daily expenses and can do my passion work. Great. So let me start by the definition. So the definition of financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your expenses. It's as simple as that. So what's passive income? Passive income is income you earn without selling your time for money, without you physically selling your time for money. So whether you wake up in the morning or you sleeping the whole day, you are generating income. That's passive income. So once your passive income exceeds your expenses, you are out of the rat race. And when that happens, you have the choice. You have the choice to stop working and be able to fund your lifestyle for the rest of your life. Now, what's the key word here? The key word is choice. Choice. Now, does it mean that you have to stop working to be financially free? Must you stop working? Of course not. In fact, if you look at some of the wealthiest people in the world who are financially free many times over, guess what? They are still working every day. In fact, they work harder than most people in the world. Like one of those guys is Elon Musk. You guys heard of Elon Musk? I mean, the guy has got $300 billion. He doesn't have to work for the rest of his life, obviously. He is, financially free a billion times over. But does he still work? Yeah, in fact, he probably works harder than all of us. He runs 5 companies at the same time. He sleeps on his office floor. People like Mark Zuckerberg, people like Jeff Bezos, people like Warren Buffett. Question, why do they still work? They don't have to work. Why do they still work every single day? Why? Because what you find in life is that true fulfillment comes from purpose. And true purpose comes from doing something that has got meaning to you. Isn't that true? Right? So the whole idea to be financially free is not to stop working, because I believe the moment you stop working, you will die. Or you get dementia, which is actually what happened to a couple of my friends. Quite sad. Because they didn't do anything, they just stared at TV every day, right? So the difference is that you have the choice to stop working, but you still work on things that give you meaning, that you enjoy doing, things that you're passionate about. That is financial freedom, all right? How many of you agree with that? How many would just love to do what you love every single day and just do what you find meaning? Yeah, that's financial freedom, all right? So I'm 51 years old this year, and at 33 years old, I was actually financially free. My passive income exceeded my expenses at 33 years old. So that was 17 years ago. And one of the reasons why I could achieve it early is because I'm quite a frugal person actually. So my expenses were relatively quite low. All right. So it was easy to be financially free. So for 17 years, right? But I've been working for the last 17 years. I still work for 17 years. Although honestly, not as hard as Elon or Mark Zuckerberg. I only go to the office once every 2 weeks. I only make YouTube videos when I feel like making it. It's not like I have to do it every week. And I do these webinars, once in a while, right? But I do it because I love teaching and I love managing a community. Now we've got one of the biggest communities of investors and traders in the world. And people always ask me, they say, Adam, why do you love teaching so much? Why do you create videos? Why? And to be very frank, I think the reason I love teaching so much is because it makes me feel important. All right. It makes me feel needed and it makes me feel appreciated. Okay. By the way, how many of you are husbands or fathers like me? Okay. And I don't know whether you can relate, but sometimes as a husband and father, sometimes my wife doesn't listen to me. Sometimes my kids don't listen to me. Sometimes my mother don't listen to me. My father don't listen to me. My in-laws don't listen to me, right? But when I teach online, thousands of people listen to me. So I feel important. I feel like a god. Okay, so frankly, that's why I love teaching because at least someone's listening to me, right? I feel important. But seriously, right? That's why I enjoy teaching and makes me feel needed, like, and gives me some meaning from that, right? So I've been teaching for a long time, and I first started teaching in 2005. In fact, in 2005, that's when I started my Wealth Academy Investor Masterclass. And as you can see, at the time, I was teaching it physically, and I had to travel a lot at the time around the region. So as you guys know, I live in Singapore, so I used to travel a lot to Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, and I would conduct this investment course physically uh, at the time, right, in 2005. And what happened was in 2006, I was on the cover of this Pulses magazine. That was a publication of the Singapore Stock Exchange at the time. And why did they put me on the cover? Because I was one of the first Singaporeans to invest in US markets over 20 years ago. Because before that, it was very uncommon for Singaporeans to invest in US markets because it was too expensive. There was no internet at that time. You had to call a broker from the US that was didn't make any economical sense, right? But in the late 90s, when the internet came about, that's when I started to trade US stocks online. And at that time, I remember that no one in Singapore has heard of an ETF because it was very, very new. So I was one of the first Singaporeans to invest in the US ETF, the S&P ETF, again, about 20 years ago. So I went around teaching people what were ETFs back in 2005. So 2006, I was known as the poster boy of ETFs, the guy who taught ETFs in this part of the world. And today, I think that most people have made good money just investing in ETFs. So I did that for a while. And then in 2016, I started to teach online. And I created this company called Piranha Profits to teach it online. And why? Because increasingly, we had people who flew from all around the world to Singapore. People from Japan, from Europe, from the US, from the UK, from Saudi Arabia flew all the way to Singapore to attend my physical investing courses. And they said, Adam, there are a lot of people who want to learn this stuff, but they don't have the money to fly all the way to Singapore and pay for the hotel and transportation. They say, you should teach this online. And at that time in 2016, online learning was very new. It was not common, right? So I thought, okay, what the heck, right? So I started my YouTube channel 2016, started Piranha Profits, and it was slow to catch up. But then in 2020, as you guys know, Piranha Profits went viral. Why? Because no one could go out. So everyone had to stay at home. So the only thing they did was learn something. So that's how we started to take off virally. And of course, I created this crazy video where I opened a Coke bottle and I say, you know what? We're going to buy this market crash in 2020 when the Fed prints money is going to go to the moon. And that's kind of what made us known around the world. How many of you remember that video? Anyone watch that video, by the way? Yeah, So this is my 20th year teaching, and people always ask me, Adam, when are you going to stop teaching? And the answer is never. In fact, my dream is not to die on a bed. My dream is not to die in a hospital. My dream is to die while doing a live webinar. And I want to die right after I say something very, very inspiring. Like say to everyone, live your dreams. You can do it. You can do it. Die. Yeah. Then everyone will remember that message. That's my dream, right? Oh, by the way, did you guys watch Happy Gilmore? Yeah, they just started showing Happy Gilmore 2 yesterday. I watched it on Netflix. You can do it. So that hilarious stuff, right? So anyway, but of course, this didn't happen overnight. Some of you are wondering, but Adam, how did you get started? You didn't just like suddenly wake up and then be financially free and teach investing, right? So, how did you get started? So I thought today I'd like to share a bit about my history for some of you who are new to it. Would you like to know some of my how I started, guys? Right? So let me share with you some of my milestones. And the first milestone was basically this milestone. And this happened, let me kind of like, I know it's a bit small. Let me expand it for you guys. All right. So this was in September 2001. Okay. So that was, yeah, was it 24 years ago? How many of you were not born yet? I'm just curious. How many of you young people here today? Some of you were not born yet. Okay. Yeah, so in 2001, I made my first million at the age of 26 years old, and I was featured in all the major news in Singapore. So that's how I got pretty well known in Singapore. And by the way, that's my ex-girlfriend that you see, and of course now she's my wife. And we got married in the year 2000. So this is our 25th wedding anniversary year, but we were dating 7 years before that. So we've been together for 32 years. And when I first met her, I was in the army. I was a poor army boy with no money. And she's a bit older than me. So at that time, she was a financial advisor with AIA. She was in $1 million round table. So she was making a lot of money. And I had no money. I was in the army serving my national service. So she actually took care of me in the early years. She paid for my food. She gave me money. All right. And in fact, when I first started my business ventures, she was my first employee for free. She helped me to carry speakers when I was running my mobile disco business, and she cleaned my records when I was doing DJing. She helped me to count beats and stuff like that. So yeah. And so I always asked her, I said, why did you marry me? Obviously not for the money, because at that time I had no money. She was the one with money. And why do you think she married me? I tell you why. Because of my great looks. No, I'm just kidding. I always ask her, why did you marry me? And she always says, because you make me laugh every day. All right. So, keyword, marry someone because they can make you laugh. All right. Okay. So that was the first milestone. And the second milestone was when I became financially free. And this was, what date was this again? Yeah, this was back in 2006, December 2006. So again, I was featured in most of the major publications in Business Times and Straits Times. And yeah, so I was ranked the 25 richest Singaporeans at the time, back in 2006. And that was when I was 33 years old. All right. So I was financially free at 33 years old. And the reason I like to start by sharing this story with you is not to impress you, but to impress upon you that if I can achieve this, anyone can achieve this. All right. If I can do it, you can do it. Okay. So can you. Why not? All right. But it doesn't happen by chance. Okay. So in fact, for example, if you look at Bang Fan Van, how many of you have attended his webinars, by the way? Bang Fan Van, right? So Bang Fan Van, by the way, he's a few years older than me. He was born in the late 60s, right? And Bang also achieved financial freedom, although a bit later than me. But the reason is because I was born in Singapore, where I had all the resources. And, Bang was born in Vietnam in the late 60s, which I don't know if you remember this thing called the Vietnam War. You guys remember the Vietnam War, right? And so Vietnam was a war-torn country back in the 60s. And how many of you remember back then there were these Vietnamese boat people that were in boats and they went around to so-called run away to other countries? Remember that, right? So Bang, as a young boy, was one of those Vietnamese boat people who attempted to escape from Vietnam to another country. And his boat, I mean, he was very unlucky, right? His boat sank and he was rescued by fishermen back to Vietnam. And then he went again, it sank again because of the storms and all that. So he was on two failed missions at a time. And he saw people around him drowning and dying. So the fact that Bang is now alive is quite a miracle because a lot of the people who went on the boat died, you know? So eventually he couldn't leave Vietnam. He was stuck there for many, many years, but he worked very hard and he joined Procter and Gamble, P&G, and then they promoted him, and he became the first Vietnamese expat of P&G to be sent to, I think, if I'm not wrong, sent to Indonesia, and then sent to Singapore, and then sent to somewhere, all around the world. And that's how he started, right? And despite his early challenges, now he's financially free many times over. And then Alson, you guys watch his video as well? So Alson is also financially free many, many times over. In fact, Alson achieved financial freedom earlier than me. All right, earlier than me. But to be fair, it's because he attended my class. So he learned the secrets, right? Whereas when I did it myself, I in a way, I had no one to learn from. Well, I did, but not directly in terms of investing and stuff like that, right? So again, I'm sharing this with you to let you know that, what, this can be achieved. But success, financial freedom, it does not happen by chance. Everyone write this down. Everyone write this down. It does not, yeah. Alson's my student. Bang is also my student, by the way. They're all my students. They all attended my course years and years ago, right? All of them. That's how I got to meet them, right? So where was I lost my train of thought. Okay. So like I said, right? Write this down. Success does not happen by chance. Success does not happen by accident. It's not that every day you work hard, you work hard, you work hard, and one day you wake up, I'm a millionaire, I'm financially free. It's a miracle. It doesn't happen that way. It does not happen that way, right? So financial freedom, success happens because one day you made a decision. Write this down. You made a decision that I want to be financially free. I want to be a multi-millionaire. I want to be doing what I love. You make a decision and you set a very clear goal for yourself, or quite a vision. And you focus on that vision every single day. And you take what? You take massive action towards that vision. So nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by chance. It happens because it starts up here. See, write this down. Everything in life is created twice. Everything in life is created twice. It is first created in the mind and then manifested in physical reality. So you must first see yourself successful here first, in your mind, in your imagination, before you can manifest it in reality. Okay? So you must always begin with the end in mind. So I was lucky in a sense that I started setting goals at a very young age. But of course, you don't have to be young. You can always start later. That it's never too late. All right, it's never too late. But of course, the earlier you start, the better it is. So I started actually at 15 years old. I set all my goals in life at 15 years old. You may say, what inspired you to do that? I had many great role models. And I'd like to highlight three of them today because I need to give them credit. Without them, I won't be here today. I'll be a bum on the street. And the first person that really inspired me is my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. Oh, he's passed away already for many, many years, for over 10 years right now. Okay. And he's the one that got me interested in the stock market. So what happened was when we were young, my grandfather would give us red packets for Chinese New Year. There's a custom called Ang Pao or Hong Pao to all the grandchildren. He had many grandchildren. I'm just one of them. And again, he's my maternal grandfather. So his paternal grandchildren got more than me, right? So I got less, but it's okay. I love him even more, right? So anyway, so he was very rare because when he gave the red packets every year, he didn't just give us cash, he gave us share certificates. And in those days, it was a physical certificate that we received. And it was all of Malaysian companies because he invested mainly in Malaysian stocks back in the 70s, right? So remember that, for Chinese New Year, I got this certificate from Kulin Berhad and Genting Berhad and Sime Darby Berhad. And I was like, why does Akong give us this piece of paper? I didn't understand. And he would sit us down and he'll give us this long lecture. And he says, if I give you cash, you're paid only once. But if I give you shares of a company, you now own a piece of a business. You are now a business owner. I was like, huh? Wow, I'm a business owner. Wow. It sounded so exciting, right? And he used to say, a business is a money-making machine that can pay you for the rest of your life. I was like, wow. So I was mesmerized. I thought, wow, I can own these money-making machines that can pay me for the rest of the life. So that is what got me interested in investing. It was my granddad giving all these, share certs to all the grandchildren, right? And I tell you something about him. Now, my grandfather was not an entrepreneur. He was not a CEO of a company. He was not even a director. He was a middle manager working for the same company his entire life. He worked for this company called Lee Rubber from Malaysia. Yeah? Any of you from Malaysia heard of this company called Lee Rubber? Yeah. So he earned a modest middle manager salary, not a director, right. But my grandfather was very frugal. He was a very simple man. He wore slippers everywhere. He drove an old Suzuki at that time, but he invested almost everything he had, and he invested mainly in Malaysian stocks at the time. And then later in the 80s and 90s, he started investing in Singapore stocks when the Singapore stock market became more vibrant, right? And he invested a lot in real estate as well. And when he passed away at 96 years old, his net worth at the time, after giving away a lot of money, was over $12 million. And this was many years ago. 12 million is a lot for someone who was just a middle manager. And that really inspired me that, wow, if someone like Akong, who is just a middle manager who wears slippers all the time, if he can have 12 million, anyone can do it, right? But he just followed these investing principles. And he never went to university, by the way. He never went to formal education because his parents died when he was very young. So he was an orphan, actually. He had to look after his sisters and all that. So it was really amazing. So he really inspired me a lot. So he was my first inspiration. And my second inspiration was actually this guy called Ernest Wong, who was my first mentor from Malaysia. I actually went for his motivational program when I was a kid. So I learned about NLP, neuro linguistic programming, motivation, and study skills from Ernest. And Ernest was actually trained by Tony Robbins. You guys heard of Tony Robbins, by the way, from the US? Anthony Robbins? So when I went for this motivational program at 13 years old by Ernest Wong, so he introduced me to Tony Robbins and he said, you got to read this book. And so at 15 years old, I read this book called Unlimited Power, which I highly recommend. You must read this book. In fact, I make sure my two daughters read this book like 5 times, And this book really inspired me. Now, if you don't know Tony Robbins, he used to be a janitor. He was a high school dropout. He had no money. He was kicked out of his home by his mother, right? But by 24 years old, he became a millionaire. And he shared his story, how he did it in this book called Unlimited Power. So when I read the book, I said, my God, if this guy who's a janitor can be a millionaire at 24, I can also be a millionaire. All right. So he was the guy that inspired me to set my goal to be a millionaire at 26. Now, some of you may say, so what, by the way, why do you think I set my goal at 26 and not 24 like Tony Robbins? Why 26? Why not 24? Any guesses? Yeah, because in Singapore, we have to serve the army for 2.5 years. National service, right? So I thought, okay, since I got army, I give myself 2 more years, 26 years old. So that's how it all came about. And here's the thing, right? So at the time when I was 15 years old, my friends all thought I was crazy. So what I did was this. I set 4 major goals for myself. My first goal was to top my school for the O-level exams. I was not from an elite school. I was from a neighborhood school called Pinyi Secondary School, which now no longer exists. My second goal was to make it to Victoria Junior College, which was the top junior college in Singapore at the time. And my third goal was to get into the National University of Singapore and to be ranked among the top students in the university, which everyone thought I was crazy because I was not a very good student initially, right? And my fourth goal I wrote down was to make my first million by 26 years old. So I wrote all these goals down on big pieces of mahjong paper and I pasted it all over my room. Okay. So every day when I wake up, I'll look at it and say, yeah, millionaire, millionaire. And I will keep on reinforcing it every day. And I'll use this thing called visualization, where every morning when I wake up and every night before I sleep, I would imagine in my mind, I see myself in front of thousands of people. I see myself with that money. I see myself as a top. I kept seeing that again and again in mind, right? It's called visualization. Now, this was again in the 1980s, okay? And what happened was many years later, there was a book that was written called The Law of Attraction. Have you ever heard of this book called The Law of Attraction? All right. And then when I read the book, I realized that, hey, I was actually doing this many years ago, but I didn't know it's called the law of attraction. It's pretty amazing, right? So the law of attraction says that whatever you focus on every day, whatever you imagine, you will attract it, you will manifest it in your life. And it's very, very powerful. All right. Now, of course, you cannot just dream and dream and dream and it comes to you. That's bullshit, right? You got to take what? You can't just dream about it. You can't just attract it in your mind. You got to take what? What are you got to take? You got to take massive action. You just got to take action. You just got to do something about it. You can't just dream about it, right? Now, here's the thing. Because I set that crazy goal of making my first million at 26, it forced me to think differently. It forced me to think out of the box. Because I knew, you see, in Singapore, by the time you graduate from university and by the time you finish the army, you'll be 24 years old as a guy. Okay? And at the time, if you get a job, the starting pay is about $2,000. So I knew that if I followed the conventional route, if I graduated university at 24, I get a job for $2,000, could I make a million by 26? Yes or no? Is it possible? It's not possible. It's not possible, right? So I knew that it's impossible to achieve the goal if I did what everyone did. So that forced me to think out of the box. So I asked myself this question. I said, how can I make money now at 15 years old and not only when I graduate? So that made me think of all kinds of ways to make money. So when you set big goals for yourself, it forces you to think differently. Like what Steve Jobs said, right? Think different. So at 15, in my school holidays, my weekends, I would make money. I used to be doing sales. I used to sell stationery door to door for companies. And then I was a part-time DJ. I was also a magician, by the way, because I love magic was my hobby. So I actually perform magic at children's parties, right? Kindergarten children. When I was 15, I was like doing magic. And so I was a DJ. I worked as a DJ for a big event company called Razors Entertainment back in the 80s. And then at 16, no, in fact, at 15, I saved up $2,000 and I started my first company. Can you guess what was the first company I started at 15? Make a guess. The name card is there. This is my first name card. All right. It was my mobile disco business called Create Soul Entertainment. And my wife was my first employee for free, right? So with $2,000, I bought my helicopter lights, my smoke machine. I had this big coffin console with a turntable and a mixer and stuff like that. So I was running all these mobile disco shows, right? For parties, for corporations and all that. So I started at 15 years old. And then I started giving tuition as well. I gave tuition to make money. And then later on, when I was about, before I went to the army, in fact, when I was in junior college, I started to do seminars. All right. So that was my first seminar I did for one of the community centers in Singapore, where I was teaching study skills. I taught people how to set goals, how to motivate themselves. Who has heard of mind mapping, by the way? Who has heard of mind mapping? It was invented by Tony Buzan, who was one of my first teachers in accelerated learning. So at that time in the 90s, again in Singapore, no one has heard of mind mapping. It was very new. So I was one of the first people to go out there and teach mind mapping. And I said, you know what, with mind mapping, you can get better grades in school. And so I made money. So I made money as a DJ, my mobile disco business, my training business, my tuition business. And I basically saved a lot of this money. And it helped because my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she paid for everything. So I could save a lot of money, right? And I started investing. First, I invested in the Singapore market, I invested in the Malaysian market, and then I invested in the US market in the late 90s. And in a way, I was lucky because late 90s was the big dot-com boom. And that's how I made my first million. And I managed to get out before the crash because things were extremely overpriced. So I got out before the crash of late 2000, 2001. So that was my my major milestone in my life, right? So, why do I share this with you again? So again, I'm sharing this with you not to again, impress you and all that, but to again inspire you, hopefully inspire you that success does not happen by chance. You got to dream big. You got to dream big. You got to make a decision right now. And let me just share with you one last story that inspired me as well. 1 week ago. So 1 week ago, Joel and Dave Chu, they called me up. They said, Adam, you remember us? I said, not really. They say, 20 years ago, we attended your course, right? In fact, Dave came to my I'm Gifted program for children. And he said, we attended your course, we bought all your books, and we came to your office and you mentored us. You told us how to start our first business. And I thought, oh yeah, I remember you now, right? So I met up with them for coffee, and let me just show you. I just did a Facebook post on it because I think this is so inspiring, right? Let me see if I can find that Facebook post. Hold on, where is that? There we are. Can you guys see this? So this was, yeah, this is the one. So this was 20 years ago. Look at how young they were. This guy, little kid, right? So that's Joel, that's Dave, right? So 20 years ago, they came to me, they said, Adam, we are inspired by you. And they said, we also want to be a millionaire like you. So my mind was like, yeah, right. Because everyone says that, right? But I was like, you can do it. And they say, yeah, we'll do it. So I give them some ideas, and they went out and they started taking massive action. And I met them last week, and this is after 20 years. This is what they look like right now. Okay. And they just sold their business, which they started 20 years ago. It's a app business that does apps on App Store, right? They sold their business in 2020. 5 years ago, they sold it for $35 million. Right? They sold it for 35 US million dollars. And now both of them continue to be in our Piranha Profits community, in our investing workshops, and they keep growing that money. And their next target is 100, 200, 300 million, right? So, anyone can do this, but you got to dream. You got to take action, right? So, yeah, I thought I'll share this very, very inspiring stuff. Yeah. So one of the things that allowed me to be financially free was planning. Was planning. It was all about planning. Nothing happens by chance. It happens because of a plan. All right. So when I was about 15 years old, I sat down and I came up, all right, sounds a bit crazy. I came up with a 20-year plan. A 20-year plan of how much I will earn, how much I will save, what returns I'll get. Now, does everything always go according to plan? Does everything always go according to plan? No, it never goes according to plan, right? So along the way, things may not turn out the way you want. You have to keep on adjusting your strategy. You keep refining, adjusting, right? This is called the ultimate success formula, something that I teach in my books as well. So it didn't go exactly to plan, but it came close to it. And in fact, my initial goal was to be financially free at 35. And I achieved it 2 years earlier at 33 years old. Okay. So today, for the rest of the webinar, I'm going to show you how I did my financial planning. Would you like to now learn how to do financial planning? Very good. So to do that, I need you to uh, go to your financial calculator that you should have downloaded. And if you have not downloaded, you can download it on this webinar chat box. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Yes. Do you guys see this financial calculator over here? So get this ready, stand by. The next thing I want you to stand by is I want you to stand by this PDF worksheet that we have sent you. It's called your roadmap to financial freedom. Can you stand by this and get a pen or pencil ready to write down your answers, right? So if you guys are ready, let me know. Okay, very good. So we're going to do three main steps. Three main steps, okay, in order to help you to plan. Now, the first question a lot of you would have is, Adam, how much money do I need? How much money do I need to be financially free? Correct? Now, first, before I give you the answer, I want to type your answer. How much do you think that you need to be financially free? Now, people call this FU money. Have you heard of this term called FU money? Why? Because once you've got this money, you can go to your boss and says, boss, F you. So they got FU money. Now, of course, that sounds very crude, but I like to use this word called MFFC. MFFC, minimum financial freedom capital. Minimum financial freedom capital. What's the minimum capital you need to be free from the rat race? Now, I want you to write down your answer. Just guess. Just guess. Tell me how much you think you need. 1 million, 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, 1,000. Okay. What do you think? Right? Elvin says 1 million. Veronica says 5,000 per month. No, no, it's not per month. It's the capital you need to give you that passive income. Okay, so I see 5 million, I see 10 million, I see 3.5, I see 10 to 20 million, 10 million, 1.5 million ringgit, 4 million. Okay, so all of you have different answers. Now, how many of you agree that the answer is different for everyone? How many of you agree the answer is different for everyone? It is different for everyone. Why? Because how much capital you need to be financially free depends on your expenses. Depends on your lifestyle. Agree? So, for example, if you are someone who wants a very extravagant lifestyle, where you say, I only eat in cafes, five-star Michelin restaurants, I must drive the latest branded sports car, I can only wear branded clothes and stuff like that. And every month I have to spend at least 100,000 to be happy. Okay. So if you have that kind of lifestyle, would you need a lot more to be financially free? Yes, you need more. But if you are a simpler person where you say, I prefer hawker centers to cafes, I can just take public transport and I don't have to wear branded clothes, for example, and maybe you just need to spend 4,000-5,000 a month to be happy. Would it be easier for you to be financially free? Yes or no? Would you need less capital? Yes or no? Yes, correct. Yeah. So the first step is, before you can find out how much you need to be financially free, the first step is to find out what are your expenses. What are your expenses? How much do you need to spend in order to live your lifestyle? Correct? So that's the first thing. So what I want you to do is, I want you to go to your worksheet here and go to page 2. Do you see this over here? Can you guys see this page over here? Very good. So the first thing is I want you to write down what are your monthly expenses. Now, some of you may ask, Adam, is it my monthly expenses now or what I want it to be? The answer is what you want it to be. What you want it to be. Yeah. So for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to write down 4,000 a month, but you write down whatever you want. Whatever makes you happy. You can put 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 2,000. It's up to you. Write down whatever makes you happy. How much must you spend a month to be happy? Got it? Next, take this number, multiply by 12. Multiply by 12 to get your annual expenses. So that'll be 48,000 for my example. Write down your number. So far, can you follow everyone? Am I going too fast or is the pace okay? It's okay? Great. Now, next, let me ask you this question. Right now, if you're spending 48,000 a year on your lifestyle, do you think it would be the same in 10 years? To live the same lifestyle today, would it be the same in 10 years? Obviously not. Why? Because of inflation. So inflation means things are getting more and more expensive, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to calculate what are your annual expenses adjusted for inflation. Adjusted for inflation. Okay? In 10 years. Now, you may say, why 10 years? Because I'm just assuming that you want to be financially free in 10 years. So we're going to calculate in 10 years, what will your expenses be based on inflation? Okay. Now, to calculate, we need a financial calculator. So I'm going to now teach you how to use this financial calculator. So let's go to the calculator right now. So on the calculator, you will see a begin and end. Now, to standardize, we will click on begin. So begin simply means that when you make investments, you invest at the beginning of the period. So we're going to put begin to standardize. All right. Now notice there are some variables like N, which is the number of periods, I, which is the interest rate, PV, present value, PMT, payment, FV, future value, P slash Y, which is the number of payment periods a year, and finally C slash Y, compounding periods a year. Now, for the purpose of this exercise, we will always put this at begin. Okay, always at begin, and this will always be 1. Always be 1 for this exercise. Always 1. And this always 1 as well. The rest, we will play around with it. Okay, so let me give you a second to digest that. If you're okay, I'll move on. All right, great. Now, by the way, this is recorded, so you can watch the replay as well. If some of you are not able to fill in the worksheet, you can always download later and you can watch the replay for a limited period. The replay will be there for about 2-3 days and that's it. Okay? Okay, so let me now explain to you what all these numbers mean. Yeah? Okay, let me go to my drawing tool to explain to you guys. So imagine that this is a timeline. Okay, this is a timeline. And this is today, and this is the future, right? So the first thing is you see this thing called PV just now. What is PV? PV means present value. So present value means how much is the money worth today? How much is the money worth today? Okay, so this is called present value. How much is the money worth today? So let's imagine you invest 10,000 today. So what's the present value? If you invest 10,000 today, what's the present value? 10,000, very good. Now, bear in mind that if you're investing this money, it must always be negative. It must be a negative sign. Why negative? Because when you invest, money goes out. It's an outflow. Outflow is negative, inflow is positive. Understand? Okay. So let's say you invest $10,000 for 10 years. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 years. And the 10,000 grows into a future value. Maybe it grows to 30,000, for example. So this is called the future value. So if you're receiving the money inflow, it is positive. Got it? So this is negative. Money goes out to invest. Positive money comes back. So far, can you follow me? PV and FV? Great. Next, you will see this thing called N in the calculator. N means the number of years or the number of periods. Okay. So in this example, we are using years, but the calculator can be converted to months as well. So by the way, if your P slash Y is 1, which is what we're using, then the N would be in years. Okay. If your P slash Y is 12, that means 12 payments a year. That means your N is in months. But we're not going to do the months now. We're only going to do the years. Okay. We're going to do years, right? Okay. So in this example, this would be 10 years, for example. Got it? Yes, of course, you can use ChatGPT as well. You can use AI, of course. But I'm showing you the manual method, manual. And of course, you can use ChatGPT, but don't trust 100%. Sometimes the ChatGPT may give you some bullshit and then you don't know, right? So it's always good to know how it's done manually so you can double check the GPT answer. Don't blindly rely on that. Understand? Okay, next thing in the calculator, you see this thing called I. Okay, but how do you find that this ChatGPT is making people more stupid? I don't need to think anymore. Hey, you will think for me. How are you afraid that with this stuff, people are going to be damn stupid in the future? Right? Okay, so what is I? I is the interest rate. The interest rate or the rate of return, which let's say, for example, 10% return. Now, I is always per annum. Okay, it's always per year. It's always per year. Okay, any questions on PV, FV, and all that? Another one you will see in the calculator is called PMT. PMT. PMT stands for payment. Okay, payment. So let's imagine you invest 10,000 today. So 10,000 goes out minus 10,000, but then you invest another 5,000 every year. So 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Every year you invest another 5,000. So your payment would be what? If you're investing another 5,000 every year, your payment would be minus 5,000. Do you understand? So payment means subsequent investments. Now, however, if you invest 10,000, for example, and you are drawing money out every year, you're taking money out, then the payment will become positive. Got it? So it can be negative or positive. Negative means you put more money in, positive means you take money out. All right? Any questions on this? No? Very good. So let's go to the calculator and let's calculate what we talked about earlier on. Now, to refresh your memory, what will we attempting to do? Okay. Um, so what we were attempting to do just now, if you remember, is hold on, is we wrote down our monthly expenses, right? Which for my example is 4,000 a month. times 12, 48,000 a year. So now I want to take my annual expenses and find out how much they will be in 10 years, assuming I want to be financially free in 10 years. Okay, so I need to adjust for inflation. Adjust this for inflation. So I'm going to use the calculator to do it. So let's do it step by step. Step by step, huh? Okay. So first, number of periods, my example would be 10. Now you don't have to put down 10. If you say, Adam, I want to be financially free in 5 years, you put down 5. I want to be financially free in 20 years, you put down 20. Put down whatever your target is, right? So for me, I'm going to put 10. Next, interest rate. In this particular case, we are adjusting for inflation. So the interest rate is so-called the inflation rate. Is the inflation rate. So now in Singapore, our inflation is about 2% a year. So I'm going to put 2%. For you, you put down the inflation rate of your uh, currency. So for example, if you're dealing with Indonesian rupiah, then of course the inflation rate is going to be a lot higher. If you deal with US dollars, could be a bit higher as well, maybe about 2.5% long term. If you're dealing with Swiss francs, then of course inflation rate is a lot lower. So roughly put down what do you think is the inflation rate of the currency that you're investing with, right? The currency that you're using, right? So put down whatever you're comfortable with, right? Okay, present value. So in this case, present value is what are my expenses today. So in my example, my expenses are 48,000, right? A year. Remember, you have to make sure it is negative. So put down your number. Put down your number. Put down your annual expenses here. So this here you put your annual expenses, your current annual expenses. Have you got that? Okay. This is your inflation rate. Now for this calculation, PMT 0, no payment. Okay. And the only thing we want to calculate is what? Is we want to calculate our future value. So click solve here. You click solve here. Ready? So in my example, I get $58,511. Got it? So what does this mean? It means that my expenses today, 48,000, in 10 years at the 2% inflation, my expenses will be $58,511. So have you got your answer? Thank you, Joseph, for that compliment. Very kind of you. Have you got your answer? All of you should have a different answer. All of you should have a different answer. So I want you to write your answer down in the worksheet. So let's go to the worksheet right now. If you have an error, it's because this is not negative. This has got to be negative. PV will be negative, FV will be positive. PV will be negative, FV will be positive. All right? Okay. So go to your worksheet again. And I want you to write your answer down at the bottom here. So again, for me, this would be 4,000 a month expenses. Today, 48,000 expenses a year today. And in 10 years' time, it will be 58,511. Please write it down. I'll give you a minute. So this is step one. Altogether, there are 3 steps. This is step one. So can some of you type your answers down just out of curiosity? What do you guys get? What are your expenses adjusted for inflation? 73 grand. 41 grand, 117 grand, 54 grand, 75 grand, 97 grand, 162 grand, 290 grand, 76 grand, 40 grand, 1.6 million. So all different, huh? $250,000, 271. Okay, very good. All right, good. So that is step one. Okay, good. Let's now move on. Now you know your annual expenses that you need to generate every year. Let's move on to the next step. So the next step is we're going to calculate our FU money, which is our minimum financial freedom capital. Okay, which is the capital that once you get this capital, you don't have to work for money anymore. This capital would generate the passive income to finance your expenses, right? Okay, so how to calculate our MFFC? So the first thing is write down your annual expenses, which you just calculated. So write this down here. So in my case, it is 58,511. You write down the number you just came up with here. Write down this number. Have you got that? Write that down. Now, we are going to make an assumption. We are going to make an assumption. Our assumption is once we have this capital, we are going to fully invest it into income assets. We're going to fully invest into income assets that generate passive income. So what are these income assets? This is something I covered in yesterday's webinar. Can some of you remember what are these income assets? That once we invest, we don't need to touch it. It will just generate regular cash flow. Four things, right? High quality dividend stocks. High quality dividend stocks. Number two, high quality REITs. Number three, private credit. Number four, bonds. These are the four income assets that will give us passive income. Some will give us 9% yield. Some will give us 5% yield, some will give us 6% yield. So all different, but to be conservative, we're going to assume that we get a 5% yield or 5% interest from this capital to be conservative. But in reality, you should get more, all right? But I'm just going to put 5%. Understand? Let me say, why 5%? Again, I'm just being conservative. So for example, myself personally, if and like I showed some of you yesterday, this is what I'm getting. So in the last year, my total passive income is $406,000. This is from my dividends that I get from my dividend stocks and my REITs, and my interest I get from my bonds and my private credit. So if you add together, my total passive income is a year is 406,000. So even if I don't wake up in the morning for the rest of my life, I will get 400,000 every year, and it's growing. It is growing. Why is it growing? Because this private credit dividends, they grow over time, and that would offset any further increases in inflation. Understand? Okay. Now, roughly, this portfolio of mine is about 7 million, close to $7 million. It's about $6.8 million, right? So if you take $406,931 and divide by 6.8 million, so basically what interest am I getting? What's my yield? What's my yield? I'm getting 5.9%. Yeah. So currently for me, I'm getting 5.9% dividend yield or interest of passive income, right? So like that's why I say 5% is very conservative, right? You should get closer to 6%. Okay, so I'm just going to put 5% just to be super conservative with you guys. Understand? Okay. So again, this is 58,511. We're assuming that whatever is the capital we are going to get, we will put it for 5% and this 5% will generate this amount every year. Understand? Now, the other thing I want you to make an assumption of is this. I want you to uh, uh, assume how long this will be paid to you. So we call this your X years. X years means how long will this payment last to you? So let me give you an example. If you aim to be financially free at 50 years old and you think you're going to die at 85 years old, how long must the money last? How many years? 35 years. So your X years is 35, understand? But if you say, I want to be financially free at 40, I'm going to live to 90. So what's your X years now? Your X years is 50. Got it? Very good. So now, can I ask you to write down what is your X years target? Now, some of you may say, I don't know when I'm going to die. Just put a target. Just put a target, 35, 40, 50 years, or whatever. Right? Have you got that? Very good. So now, with all this, we're going to calculate your MFFC. So let's go to the calculator right now and let's do that. Where's my calculator? There. Okay. So refresh the calculator. You can refresh it so it all goes back to 0. Okay. And again, click on begin. So let me explain what we're going to do right now. Okay. Okay, let's do step by step. So the first thing, what we're going to do is this. Let me go to my drawing board again and let me explain how this whole thing is going to go, right? So we are now going to calculate what is your MFFC. Okay, how much capital you need that's going to pay you every year until the end. Okay, until the end here. Okay, so for this calculation, your MFFC is your what? Is your present value. Do you understand? So our job is to calculate what is the MFFC, which is the present value that we need to generate our PMT. What's PMT? In this case, what's our PMT? Our PMT would be our annual expenses. Okay, that can pay us every year passive income until the future. This is when we die. Okay, now some of you may say, Adam, when I die, I want to have 0. Then your future value be 0. Some of you may say, no, when I die, I want to leave my children or wife or husband with 1 million. Then your FV will be 1 million. You understand? So your future value is whatever you want to leave behind. Can be 0, can be 1 million, it's up to you. Right? Now, some of you may put 0 and say, never mind, I already bought insurance policy, so if I die, my family get a payout. So they don't need this. Right? So it's up to you. Understand? And then the other thing we're going to put in is the I, okay, which is the interest rate to generate this income, which would be 5%. So we're going to calculate the MFFC based on this. Ready? So let's do it step by step. Any questions on this? Does this make sense? Okay, Mark is saying, but the annual expenses still has to compound with inflation. Don't it? Let me explain why. Because remember that when you invest in these income assets, the dividends will grow. The dividends will grow. So the dividend growth should offset any subsequent increase in inflation from the period of financial freedom. It will offset by the growth of the dividends. Okay? So you don't have to worry about it from that point onwards. So, okay, so let's use our calculator. Let's go step by step. So, step one, for the n, what do we put down for the n? What do we put down for the n? This will be your x years. Remember your x years, which I just talked about? X years is from your financial freedom to the day you die. Okay, so in this example, I'm going to put 35. Assuming I am financially free at 50, I die 85, you will last me 35 years. You put down whatever you want. You can put down 40, you can put down 50, up to you. So far, are we okay with that? Okay, next. Yeah, always set to begin. Always set to begin. Okay. Next, interest rate. In this case, we're assuming that you're going to invest in income assets, dividend stocks, REITs, bonds, private credit. That gives you a what? That gives you a 5% interest rate. So we're going to put 5% here. Like I said, I'm being conservative. Personally, I'm getting close to 6%, as you saw earlier on. But I'm going to put 5%. Okay. Now, next, the present value, this will be your MFFC. This, we are going to leave it blank. We're going to solve this later, right? Leave this blank. For the payment, what's the payment? Payment would be how much passive income you want to get every year. So this would be your annual expenses, which in my example would be what? My example is 58,511, right? Then future value means at age 85, how much I want to die with. So just assume zero. I die no more. Okay. But again, if you want to leave something to your kids, you can put whatever you want. 1 million, 2 million, up to you. All right. This would be one. This would be one. So far, can you get all this? Veronica, in this example, PMT is positive. It's not negative. It's positive. Why positive? Because you are getting the passive income. You're not putting more money in. You're getting the money. All right. So it's positive. Understand? Yeah. So far, can you follow? Can you guys follow that? Okay, so now I'm going to click on solve to find out my MFFC. Ready, ready, ready? Ta-da! There we are. So for me, for my example, I need about $1 million. 1,005,974, right? About 1 million. Okay. Yes, interest is always annual rate. Interest is always annual rate, always. Okay. So what does this mean? This means, okay, this means for my example, once I got $1 million and I invest it at 5% dividend yield with dividend stocks, REITs, bonds, and private credit, which I covered yesterday, then this will generate for me 58,000 every year, every year, every year, every year, every year, every year until I kaput in 35 years from the time of financial freedom. So I'm curious, what is your number? What is your MFFC? My example is 1 million. How about yours? Dennis says 2.9. Alexander says 2.5. Lorraine, oh, now too fast. So I see 420,000. I see 26 million. I see 1.8 million. I see 5 million, 2 million, 2.9, 1.4. Okay, great. Very good. So again, all of you have different answers because you've got different expenses. Okay. So is this useful, guys? At least now you have got a number. You got a target in mind. You have got a target in mind. Good. Very good. So now you know your target. Write it down. Write it down. Where? In the worksheet. Okay. So write it down on the bottom right. So your annual expenses, 58,511 for my example. My MFFC, my FU money is 1,005,974. Then I can say boss FU. I'm out of here, man. Gonna do what I love. Now, this is step two. Let's go to step three. So now you know what is your MFFC. What do you think step three is? Step three would be how to get there. How long to get there? What return to get there? Right? Okay, so let's go to step three. Can I go to step three? Okay, let's go to step three. Very good. So let's go to the next page. So now we're going to calculate, okay, what rate of return must you grow your savings today in order to reach your MFFC in your targeted time? So a few things I want you to key in right now. So the first thing is I want you to key in, or I need to write down what are your liquid assets today. What are your liquid assets today, which is your cash and your current investments. So investments in your stocks, in whatever, right? What's your total liquid assets today? Can you include your CPF? Yeah, but I would say better to just include the ordinary account, right? For those of you who are Singaporeans, or 401k in the US, all right, or EPF for Malaysians, you can include that as well, right? Should you include the value of your house? Should you include the value of your house? No, you should not include the value of your house or the value of your car. Because unless you're willing to sell your house and to invest the proceeds, but if not, no. Okay. So again, write down a rough number. What are your liquid assets today? Which is your cash and the current investments that you have, whether it's in ETFs, stocks, unit trust, mutual fund, whatever. Right. So for the purpose of my example, I'm going to put 50,000 for my example. So let's imagine I've got 50 grand right now to invest or currently invested. And next, write down how much you can save every year to put into your investments. How much can you save every year to put into your investments? So I'm going to put 12,000 as my example. Should we consider emergency fund as liquid assets? Well, if you want to be very conservative, then don't include that because you may not want to invest your emergency fund. Okay. So you should include what you're willing to invest. What you're willing to invest. If you have an emergency fund that you don't want to touch, then don't include that. Okay. Yes, you should include your 401k, definitely, because you are investing your 401k, yeah, or your CPF, right? Okay. Next, I want you to put a target. How many years from today do you want to give yourself to reach financial freedom? It's up to you. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's up to you. So again, for my example, I'm going to put 10 years. So write down your numbers right now. Your liquid assets today, how much addition you can save and put in every year, and how many years you want to give yourself to reach your target. So Karen, do you include passive income from property, rental, liquid assets? Uh, so what you can do is if you have got a second or third property, you include the net equity. That means the asset minus the mortgage, the net equity, you can include it in the liquid assets if it's a second or third property. If it's your own home that you're living in, don't include it. But second, third, fourth property, yes, you can include it into your liquid assets. Although property is not that liquid, but fine, we can still include it in. Asset minus your mortgage, you can put that in. Should I include my current stocks amount? Yes. That means how much you currently invest into stocks. Yes, it is your liquid assets right now. It is your liquid assets right now. Should I include my endowment plans in my liquid assets? Yeah, yeah, it is part of your liquid assets. It is. Can I move on, guys? Okay. So now with all these, we're going to calculate the rate of return that is required for you to achieve this. Okay. So let's go to the calculator. If you have a property that you don't live in, then you can include it. Yeah, you can include that property because you could liquidate the property and invest with that funds. So you could include that into your liquid asset. Yeah. Oh, my neck is so stiff. Okay. Let's go to the calculator again. Where's my calculator? There. Okay. So one more time, let's reset everything. Ready? Follow me step by step. Click on begin. So first thing is N. So in this case, N is your time target. How many years do you give yourself to reach financial freedom? So let's say you give yourself 10 years. Okay, 10 years, I'll be financially free. Okay? So now you put whatever you want. You can put 10 years, you can put 5 years, you can put 20 years. It's up to you. You put down what you want. Now, for the rate of return, we are going to leave this blank. We're going to solve this. So leave this blank. Now, present value would be what? Present value would be your current assets today. Okay? Your current liquid assets today. How much you have today in cash and investments. So for my example, this would be minus 50,000. Remember, must be a minus sign, huh? Must be a negative sign. Payment amount would be how much more you can save and invest every year. Okay? How much you can invest yearly. So let's assume every year I save and invest another 12,000. So again, this is going to be negative because this is money going out for investing. Future value would be your MFFC, which you calculated earlier on. So this would be your MFFC, which you earlier calculated. So your MFFC, which I earlier calculated for me is 1 million. Yeah. Okay. So far, can you follow everyone? That's right, Waker. This assumes your annual savings is the same. You want to vary your annual savings, then you have to use an Excel worksheet already. So far, can you follow everyone? Can follow? Okay. Now, click solve. Click solve, and it'll tell you how much your money must grow now to reach this target in 10 years. Ready? Ta-da! Okay. So in my example, if I want to be financially free in 10 years, having 50K today, saving 12K a year, then I must grow my money at 25.6%. Okay? Now, question. How many of you find that this number is not realistic to you? You think, oh, it's too high, it's not achievable. How do you feel that this number is too high? 25% return a year is too difficult, not achievable. Okay. So if you find that this is not comfortable, what can you do? What can you do if you don't find this comfortable? What can you do? Then you can give yourself more time, right? So instead of 10 years, you say, okay, I give myself 15 years. If you give yourself 15 years and you click solve, what happens? Now you only need to grow your money at 14.4%. Is that more achievable? Yes. If you think that 14% is still too high for you, then give yourself more time. Say, okay, I give myself 20 years. And then you click solve. Now you only need 9.4%, which any idiot can do. Which later I'll show you that any idiot can do 9%, right? The result is a minus figure. Which one? The I is the minus figure. If the I is a minus figure, that means you're already financially free. You should not be doing this. That means you're already financially free. Remember, your PV and your PMT have to be both negative. Okay, both must be negative. Huh? Your FV must be positive. Okay. So the great thing about this calculator is that you can adjust it until you feel comfortable. Okay, you can change this to 20 years, you can change to 10 years, you can change to 18 years. You adjust it until you get a return that you think, oh, I think it's achievable. Do you understand? Is this useful, guys? Now, could you also could you also set your I and calculate the N? So, for example, if you say, Adam, I'm very confident of getting 20% return a year because I'm getting it now. So you could fix this at 20%, and then you solve for N. Can you see? You solve for N. So if you fix this at 20%, it will take you 11.9 years to be financially free. So you can fix one variable and solve the other variable. You can always swap it over. Now, could you also increase your savings here? Yes or no? Could you increase your savings instead of saving 12,000 a year? You say, you know what? I'm gonna save 20,000 a year. So if you save more a year and you click on this, do you need less growth? Right? So you can change this, you can change this, you can change this. You alter it until you find one that I'm comfortable, it's achievable. Let's go for it. Cool? Cool. Very good. So now the next question some of you would have is, Adam, so if 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 I must get 21% return a year, but now I can't get 21% return a year, then what can I do? Then can you learn new skills to become a better investor? Can you learn new skills to become a better trader to be able to grow your wealth faster? Could you do that? Yes, you can do that. So that's the good news, all right? You can upgrade your skills. So let's move on from here. Now, how many of you uh by the way, I'm just curious. Can you guys type down what is the return that you are aiming to get to be financially free? Is it 10%? Is it 15%? Is it 20%? Right now, I'm just curious. Okay, 13%, 28%, 10%, 15%, 30%, 7%. Okay, so all of you have got different numbers, right? Write one that you feel comfortable with. Now, I got good news for you. The good news is that if your if your required return on your money, okay, is between 10 to 13%, then you don't need much skill. You don't need any brain. Okay, why? Because historically, if you look at the S&P 500 and you can buy the S&P 500 using an ETF, For example, you can see in the last 20 years, in the last 20 years, the S&P 500 gained 670%, which is a 10.75% annual return, despite all the major market crashes. So even if you hold during the great financial crisis, we're gonna die, right? And then crash here, it crash here, it crash here, crash here, crash here, COVID, we're gonna die. You crash here. So despite the up and down, if you close your eyes, ignore the news, you're getting 10.75% growth of your money. That's the last 20 years. Okay, last 20 years. If you look at the last 10 years, look at the last 10 years, the growth is actually 13% in the last 10 years. All right. Again, despite the crash, crash, right? You're getting 13%. So you can see that if you just invest in the US ETF in the long run, all right, your return is between 10 to 13%, roughly about that, right? So if you just need to get 10 to 13%, good news is you don't need any brain. You don't need any skill. You can do it right now. Okay? But how many of you would like to get financial freedom a lot faster? And so you want to get much higher returns than this. So if you want to get much higher returns than this, then what must you do? Then what must you do? Then you must use your brain. You must use your brain. You have to then use your investment and trading skills that you acquire from Piranha Profits, right? So that's the whole point of our courses, is to show you how you can get better returns for your money. So how do you achieve over 15 to 30% returns on average? So this is how I do it. This is how I do it. This is how Alson does it. This is how Bang does it. And this is how many of our students do it. So the first thing I do is I invest not only in the index. Now remember, like I said, my analogy, when you buy the index, it's like you're buying the music album of all the songs, the hit singles and the lousy songs all together, right? That's why you get 10 to 13%, right? But if you know how to pick the hit singles, the hit songs, then you'll get much better results than buying the whole music album. Okay? So for me, I invest in a portfolio of only the highest quality stocks, which are the companies that generate the most consistent profits, with the highest growth potential, with the strongest economic moats that protect them from competition, with the highest return on capital. And I buy them when they're undervalued. And by doing that, I'm able to outperform the index, right? To get between, again, 15 to 30%. That's the first thing I do. And then in addition, I turbocharge my returns using options. So I trade options almost every day. So I trade, I sell cash secured put options. For those of you in UIP, you can see how I do it every day. I'm selling covered call options. And for those of you with smaller accounts, like $3,000-$4,000 account, you can't sell covered calls because you don't have 100 shares. You can't sell cash secured puts. You can use diagonal spreads and credit spreads, which you can use with a small account. Like that's what YY is doing. YY has a small account and he's doing that. And he's getting, again, I can't remember what he got. I think he got 30% also a year, whatever it is, right? And then I also do short-term swing trading, right? I trade stocks, I trade options. I used to trade Forex. I don't do it anymore because I don't have the time to do so many things. So I trade stocks and options. So by doing this, I'm able to get between 15 to 30% return a year, right? For me personally, it's over 20%. Now, the thing I have to tell you is this. Would you get exactly 20% every year? Do you think your portfolio will grow exactly 20% sweet every year? No. No. Remember, markets don't go up in a straight line. Your wealth, your portfolio will not go up in a straight line. It will go through ups and downs. Okay? So there will be days there will be months and there'll be years your wealth, your portfolio will go down. It is normal. Don't freak out. Even the greatest investor in the world, Warren Buffett, his portfolio can't go up every year. There are down years as well. So you must be mentally prepared. In the short term, it can go down. But over the long run, if you hold great companies and you follow the rules of what we are teaching you, it will keep going higher and higher because the up years will be a lot more than the down years. Does this make sense, everyone? Okay. So do I also have certain years when my portfolio goes down? Do I have certain years when my portfolio goes down? Yes, I also have. I also have. All right. There's no such thing as my portfolio only go up. No such rubbish. All right. Whoever tells you that must be some scammer. It's no such thing. So I've showed you this before. For some of you, if you have not, let me just share with you. For example, like last year, 2024, my portfolio gained 24%, 22%. I've got two capital gain portfolios. And then in 2023, I gained 48% in my first portfolio and 43% in my second portfolio. So in other words, it's not every year I can get 40%. Okay, it's not every year I can get 30%. Some years I get 40%, some years I've gotten 50%, some years I get 20%. In 2022, I got minus 20%. Okay, so you have up and down, but over time, okay, my average is over 20%. My annualized return is over 20%. Okay, and this is my longer term return. You can see since I started UIP and I allow my subscribers to track my portfolio every month, you can see my portfolio in blue. Again, you can see it went through ups and downs, right? It dropped here, it dropped here, it dropped here, it dropped here, but it's up 244% in the last 6.5 years. So that's 244% return versus the S&P 500, beating the S&P 500. So this is an annualized return of about 20%, roughly about 20%. And again, by the way, the last 6 years, was it a very smooth ride in the stock markets? Was it a very smooth ride in the stock markets? No, it was one of the most challenging markets, I can tell you, the last 6 years. So if the last 6 years you could have made money, you are very good. Because many fund managers did not make money in the last 6 years. Because in the last 6 years, we had two major bear markets, which is very rare. We had a bear market in 2020 bear market, COVID. 2022 bear market because of high inflation, high interest rate. We had Ukraine war. We had Middle East war. We had Silicon Valley Bank collapse. We had the Japan Black Monday crash because of the unwinding of the yen carry trade. Then we have got the crazy King Trump with his crazy tariffs, right? With all that craziness, my students and I were still able to triple, double our money. So that's why I keep telling my students, do not be afraid of recession. It will come one day, you don't know when. Who cares if it comes? Don't be afraid of war. There'll always be war, unfortunately. Now Thailand, Cambodia also fight. Everyone fight, right? There'll always be war. There'll always be pandemic. There'll always be crisis. There'll always be some problem in the world. But if you hold on to good companies, where all of us have to keep using Microsoft, we have to keep using Google, we have to keep using Apple for some of us, we have to keep drinking Coca-Cola, we can keep going to McDonald's, right? They will keep making money and your portfolio will just grow and grow and grow and grow. Make sense? All right. And this is the last 10 years performance. You can see this is my account, right? And you can see over 10 years, 541%, doubling the S&P 500. And since inception, a lot earlier than that, 700%, way outperforming the S&P 500. Okay. I always say, you don't have to learn from me. You can go and learn from other people who teach you investing. You can go to the university to take a finance course. But whoever you learn from, ask them to show you their track record. Ask them to show you can they actually beat the market? Can they actually make millions? Can they actually get 20% return? Can they show you? If they can't, bullshit. All right? If they can, worth learning. Don't have to learn from me. Learn from someone else who can do it as well. It's fine for me, right? So for Piranha Profits, we have created a whole suite, an entire suite of many courses to give you all the skills, all the strategies to achieve better returns for yourself. Okay. So, of course, the first course which I teach is the whale investor course. This whale investor course, the main focus is on value momentum investing, how to invest in the top 1% of the best companies in the US, in Singapore, in UK, in Europe, in India, the top 1% of companies that are called the tennis ball stocks. That even the price drop in the short term, like United Health, who cares? It will bounce back higher later on. And we avoid 99% of stocks that drop never come back. These are the egg can crack stocks, right? So in the whale investor course, you're going to learn exactly what to buy, what companies to buy around the world, when to buy when they're undervalued. How do you know it's undervalued? You're going to learn how to calculate the intrinsic value, all right? And then how much to buy, how many shares to buy, how to build a diversified portfolio, and then when to sell, how to know when to take profit, when is it overpriced. So all this is covered in the whale investor course. And we have had students again from all around the world take this course. People like Chun Wee from Singapore. He said, my investing journey was consistently losses over a decade, struggling to find a winning strategy until I discovered the value momentum investment course, which completely changed my investment mindset and philosophy. In 2023, he got 84% return after taking the class. And then 2024, he got 103% return. And then people like Juper, that I hope you watch his video on YouTube. I just uploaded the live interview. Juper's from originally from Philippines, then Saudi Arabia. Now he's in Texas in the US. And he took the class in 2021. Okay. And then in the last 4 years, he grew his account 242%. And he's a nurse from Texas, right? And it's a 35% a year return, despite going through bear market. Any idiot can make money in a bull market. Any idiot can do it. But how many can make money both in bear and bull market? That is the true test. Okay, right? People like Maxwell, he said, done my performance review today, and over the last 4.5 years, I have an NY's 20.83%. Okay, and Adrian, very grateful to Adam, YY, Richard, and PP team. I managed to get 49% annual return. Okay. So that's the first course that can give you the skills. Then the second course is how can you turbocharge your investment portfolio with options? Again, I trade options almost every day. Okay. And how can you use options to also do short-term trading in order to make money in different market conditions and increase your ROI? So there are altogether 26 strategies you will learn in the Options Wave Rider Mentorship Program, where you can profit under any market condition, whether market is bullish or bearish or sideways, high volatility, low volatility. And you can trade options on stocks, options on ETFs, options on futures like oil and gold and commodity futures, options on currencies as well. So in the course, you will learn that when a market is very strong, you can use a bullish synthetic spread, which is what I shared with you 2 days ago, right? Remember that? And you can use a bull call spread, which is what YY shared with you. This is good for small accounts. And then callback ratio as well. If the market is going up very slowly, not very strong, you can use bull put spread, which is what I showed you last 2 days ago, right? And then bull put spread extreme, which is my invention as well, and cash secured puts. Now, if the market is in a bear market going down, collapsing, you can use bearish synthetic. You can use bear put spread, put back ratio. Market going down slowly, use bear call spreads. Market going sideways, use diagonal spreads. Sell covered calls, use calendar spreads and iron condors. Special event, Fed going to announce interest rate, company announcing earnings. How do you profit from the announcement? Regardless of direction, you use earnings sniper spread, earnings probability spread. So altogether 26 strategies, and the course is taught by both myself and Bang, as well as YY is also the main coach in options. And Bang, again, he's the grandmaster of options. He's like Yoda. I'm like Luke Skywalker. In fact, Bang was the one that helped me to become very consistently profitable in options, which is great, right? Because Bang was my student many years ago learning stocks from me. He didn't learn options from me, by the way. He learned stocks from me, right? And then he learned options himself. And then later, he shared with me how to become better in options. So it's a mutual relationship, right? And Bang, last year he made 1.1 million across all his 7 accounts in options. And then we got YY, who relatively smaller account. Year to date, you can see he's up 38% for the year. So far, the first 6 months is up 38%, which is pretty amazing. And for the last 12 months, he's up 66% return, right? 66% return for the last 12 months. And he's a very sought after options coach as well. So you'll be taught by all of us, right? And of course, this is my own options trading results that I've showed you guys many, many times. So again, our students, people like Alexander said, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Adam and Bang for your exceptional investment and trading advice. Actually, we don't give advice, we give education. Okay, don't say advice, huh? Okay. By incorporating options trading into my strategy, I have not only recovered all my previous losses, including cost and subscription fees, but also achieved a decent profit. Right? 300%. He call it decent profit. I call it indecent, obscene. All right. But very proud of him. Olivia is a very interesting person I shared with some of you. When she first attended the course in 2019, she was a complete beginner. She has never bought a stock in her life. She did not even have her money into any mutual fund. All her money was in fixed deposit. She was so conservative. She started with the Whale Investor course. She learned how to buy stocks and then she took options right away. And today she's one of our most consistent options trader from someone with zero, right? And every month she will share her options profits, which is not bad, right? She started with 2K and now she's doing like 8, 9, 10K a month. And she travels around the world. She's retired, fully retired and trading full time. And Cheryl said, it took a couple of years, but this slow-witted student, and she calls herself slow-witted student, no, we are all learning, right? Is proud to share my 2024 results, 60% return across my 200 trades with an average win of 76% win rate, right, of her options trades, right? And even with a small account, right? This gentleman, my options trading account, small account, I started with 2,000, added 12K, and now grew it to 50K, right? He made over 40,000 profits with a small account trading options. Okay. And then, of course, we have got our swing trading courses where you can learn to swing trade stocks, Forex, crypto, and use it to trade options as well, right? So the main course that we have is the price action manipulation mastery package that is taught by Alson Chu. Okay, and I also have got my stock trading mastery package that you can also take. So if you guys don't know, Alson teaches price action manipulation. The market in the short term is totally manipulated. It's totally rigged to fool people to buy at the top and sell at the bottom, right? So instead of complaining, oh, the market is manipulated, don't complain. Take advantage of it. So Alson is the only fella who developed this technique on how to understand how market makers manipulate the markets and how to profit alongside the manipulation. Okay. So I believe you attended his webinar and he shared all that. And, we all come from different backgrounds. So Alson's background, some of you will know, he was a full-time proprietary trader. He was an award-winning trader with his firm. He made them over 1.2 million US in profits. Then he left, became a full-time trader after 5 years, and since made over 6.5 million US dollars trading stocks and cryptocurrencies. Right. And again, in the last year, it's up 40% as well. So, people ask me, Adam, if I want to be a teacher with your pyramid profits, how do I become a teacher? By the way, I'm looking for new teachers, by the way. I am looking for new teachers, right? So if you're interested to be one of our teachers, let me know. All right. We want to recruit more teachers. I tell you why, because we're not getting younger. Bang's getting older. Alson's still very young. Bang's getting older. I'm getting older, and we want people to take over in the future. And I've got a few criteria. Number one, you must show your results. You must open up your accounts and you must show that you're beating the market consistently, obviously. All right. Number two, you must love teaching and you must have the heart to answer questions on weekends and to be in a community and to unselfishly share what you know. If you're going to be a selfish bastard, only I can make money, no one else can, then screw you, right? Okay. So if you're interested, let me know. We're looking for teachers to build our community to great heights. Okay. So remember that in trading, do you win every trade? Can you win every trade? By the way, no matter the best strategy you use, can you win every trade? No, you can't win every trade, right? So conservatively in trading, even if you get a 50% win rate, you'll do very well because the key in trading is controlling your risk to reward, is to win more when you're right and to lose less when you're wrong. But you will always be wrong sometimes. So if you take 10 trades a month, that's 120 trades a year, right? So if you win half the time conservatively, that means you will have 60 winning trades and 60 losing trades. But each time you lose 1%. How do we make sure we lose 1%? By position sizing and having a stop loss in place. So in trading, you must have a stop loss. Different from investing. Investing, there's no stop loss. Investing, you just buy and let it grow. Trading is like one night stand. Must use protection. So you gotta have a stop loss. So once you hit a stop loss, get out, lose 1%. And your profit target, you must make more, ideally double or more your risk, right? So if each time you lose 1%, each time you win 2%, net, you're making what? 60% a year, right? So if you look at many of my students who get 50, 60% return a year, it's not that they win every time. It's not that they can predict the future. They can't. They also lose. Sometimes they lose half the time, but they control their risk to reward, right? So trading is like a business. Trading is like a business. So this is Eve from Singapore, and she said it's my third month of since I started trading options, and for the month of May, I realized 19,000 US in net profit. My cumulative profit for the last 3 months since starting is $40,000, right? And yeah, make back her course fees many, many, many times over. And we've got Sergey. Sergey's from Singapore. He got 281% return in the last 7.5 months, beating the S&P by 17 times. Right? Again, incorporating what he has learned using price action manipulation together with options. Right? So many roads lead to Rome. Many roads lead to financial freedom. So if you want to increase your returns, then of course, we've got all these courses for you guys. And again, you can grab all these at over 50, 60% discount in this retail rebellion event, right? So we have got the value momentum investment course, which I'm teaching, which I teach. I've got the income investor course that focuses on bonds, private credit, REITs, and dividend stocks. This is on growth stocks, okay, and capital gain stocks. And then we also have got a property value investment course taught by Jeff Ong, who's a property expert. He also manages a property fund. If you want to learn property investing, he's the best guy to learn from. Best guy to learn from. All right. I also, by the way, put money with him to invest in property. All right. Because I'm not a property guy. I know nuts about property. Okay. Options is taught by Bang, myself, and of course YY. That's the options wave rider. And then we have got swing trading strategies, the price action manipulation taught by Alson, and also a stock trading package that's taught by me. Right. So all these are on-demand courses. You can learn anytime, learn anywhere. They are all pre-recorded. Now take a look at this chart, guys. assuming you have got 50,000 now and you invest 12,000 addition every year, how much would you have in 10 years? It depends on your rate of return. So if you have zero return, that means you just put your money in the bank and you get no interest, then in 10 years you get 170,000. If your money is growing at 5% a year, 5%, 5% compounded, your money will grow to 243,000. If your money grows at 10%, that's 353,000. At 15% return, half a million. At 20% return, 745,000. At 25% return, it's a million. Now, let me ask you this question. Is there a big difference between a 25% return and a 5% return? Is there a big difference or not? Oh, you bet, right? The outcome is very different. Now, let me ask you this. In all these scenarios, are you saving the same amount of money? Are you saving the same amount of money? Yes or no? Yes, you're saving the same amount of money. Same. You're saving 12,000 a year is the same. But why is the result so different? Why is the result so different? You're saving the same amount of money. The result is so different because of the power of compounding. All right. So the lesson to take away is not, it's just the lesson to learn is it's not just how much you save that's important. It's not just how much you save that's important. More importantly is how much you can grow your savings, your rate of return. The higher your return, the more you accelerate your progress. But please let me warn you of one thing. Let me warn you of one thing, right? How many of you have heard of people? They tell you, hey, you can grow your money 100% a year, 200% a year, 100% a day. Who have heard people say this before? Now, if people tell you that, okay, there's two possibilities. Number one, it's a scam. It's a freaking scam, okay? Number two, it's not a scam, but it's a strategy that is not sustainable. If people tell you I can get 100% a day, a month, yes, can. But they are not investing or trading properly. They are freaking gambling. And these people who make 100% a day, a month are the same people who will lose everything in the next month. Okay? So please remember, it is not the highest returns only. It is the highest returns that are sustainable. Please write this down, that are sustainable. Can it be sustainable in the next 10, 20, 30 years? If not, forget it. Who the hell wants to make 200% a day, a month, and then lose everything the next month? You get a point? So please be careful. Do not be seduced by, oh, I can make 200% a day, a month. Yeah, right. I'm Santa Claus. Okay. So Retail Rebellion, the sale, up to 70% off on some of our programs. So let me just run you through one last time. And for this final webinar, we have flash bonus. So fastest finger win. Ready? Finger ready. Okay. So for the first 200 people, you will get these special deals. By the way, those of you who already enroll, you will also get the deal. So don't worry. You will also get the deals if you have already enrolled, right? So don't worry, you don't miss out anything. So the first is the Investor Fast Track Mentorship. This is a super package that I am teaching. It's the simplest and shortest way to becoming a profitable investor. Okay. So this consists of three things. First, the Whale Investor course, which is an on-demand lifetime course. Lifetime. Okay. And then the Stock Oracle Pro Plus 1 year access. This is a 1 year access. And then the UIP is a 1 year access. So this is lifetime. This is 1 year. This is 1 year. All right. Now let me say, after 1 year, if I still want to continue, yeah, you can. There is a renewal for Stock Oracle Pro. The second year renewal is $249. For UIP, the second year renewal is $1140 if you want to renew. All right. So the normal retail price for all three together is $4,296 US. This is what people are paying throughout the year. 4,000 US dollars. And they say, hey, we make it back very fast. But for you guys, fastest fingers today, you will get my monthly newsletter as a bonus. You get additional 2 months of UIP subscription. So total 14 months. 14-month subscription. You get additional 1 month access to Stock Oracle. So Stock Oracle total 13 months. And you get a 3-hour live jumpstart workshop with YY. Okay. So if you enroll right now, okay, you get 60% off the 4296, which is only 1718. So this, if you guys have been following us for many years, you know that this is a steal. This is one of the best rates you can ever get. All right, not just from us, but from anyone out there. All right. So scan the QR code or click on the link to grab this offer right now. Yeah. If you already signed up, don't worry, you will get all the bonuses that I just mentioned. Yeah. Next is the options Wave Rider mentorship. So this is everything you need about options. By the way, let me just tell you this. Once you take a Piranha Profits course, you do not have to take any other course for the rest of your life. I kid you not, because everything you need to learn is with us. We teach you everything. By the way, how many of you have ever taken a course before by some other person, and then after you take the course, you say, "Oh, sorry, we don't teach you everything. You want to learn more?" They upsell you a bigger package, 20K, 30K, 50, some bloody upsell shit. Okay, we don't do that. There is no upsell. There is no upsell. What you see is what you get is everything that you need. And what's worse, after they upsell you some bloody stupid rubbish that you buy, you realize you still don't learn anything. Because that idiot can't actually make money, right? And then you got to attend another course, another course, another course, and you go in freaking circles for years. All right. So I've seen this crap, I've been doing it. I've been teaching for 20 years. I've seen all these people come and go. And I say, they give the industry a bad name. We're not condoning that, So for myself and Bang and Alson, our belief is that once you take this class, you do not take any other class outside. You're wasting your time after that, right? Just take this and that's it. And there's no upsell, okay? That says you need to buy this other stuff to really learn everything. No, right? Okay, so the Options Wave Rider mentorship comes with the options courses, both the Iron Shell and Iron Striker courses. So these courses will teach you all the 26 strategies. It's a lifetime access. It's a lifetime access. You can watch the videos anytime, anywhere, and it's regularly updated when there's new content, and it's on demand. So 26 powerful strategies together with quick reference guides and email support. And then the online mentorship. Online mentorship are the live weekly webinars. Okay, the live weekly webinars and the trade hunt and the jumpstart, that is a 1 year access, because after 1 year, you will be able to master all these things. So you've got the monthly e-gatherings and live trade hunt with Bang Fan Van, monthly strategy deep dive webinars, options traders discussion group, quarterly trading psychology class with yours truly, and onboarding workshop for beginners. So this is a 1 year access, and these are the live webinars, right? But the on-demand lessons, which are all the course materials, that is lifetime access. That's a lifetime access, right? There's no expiry on that one, okay? So the usual retail price for this entire mentorship is 2,997. And when you enroll now, you get extra 2 months to the mentorship. So total is 14 months of the live webinars, of the live handholding, of the live trade hunts, right? Which is more than enough to master it. So 15 months. They're giving 15 months. Okay, so 15 months. Wow, that's almost 1.5 years. Okay. So for the Options Wave Rider mentorship, if you enroll now, it's a 40% off, and that will be only 1,798. So again, I can tell you, I've had people who message me privately and they say, Adam, we've been trading options for 10, 20 years. We have taken many option courses and stuff like that. They say, Adam, yours is the best value we have ever seen. And we don't believe you're actually giving all this for this price. Why? I say, well, because seriously speaking, even for Bang and myself, we don't have to teach this anymore, right? But we are teaching this because we want people to learn. And you say, why can't you give it for free? Because we have got costs. There's a lot of costs involved, by the way. A lot of people don't know. We've got an entire team of people, over 50 of our staff behind